They say all men are created equal.
Shaq Master!
I pull out the Glock. Full of suffering, succotash, son.
One of you nuts is hanging out of your shorts.
Real glass!
You have a father, but your father's dead.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Too Sweet podcast with Lucy and Estelle. It's Thursday, so it means we're back with another Dynamite review, but actually, it wasn't Dynamite last night. It was Grand Slam Mexico. So a big special event from Arena Mexico, I believe the first ever non-Mexican wrestling company to put on a show in that venue. I feel like I could be in Mexico right now with the bloody heat wave that's in the UK. It's very fucking warm. But yeah, this was exciting. So we've had like 2 weeks of 4 hours of Dynamite, which was quite a lot. So it was quite nice just to have, this was 2.5 hours. And very refreshing and very different in front of like a really excited audience in Mexico. So Estelle, what's your initial impression? What did you think?
I think it achieved, yeah. It was a fun night of celebrating lucha wrestling within AEW. It brought it to the forefront quite well, I thought. And yeah, as well as celebrating their partnership with CMLL, I think for a first attempt at Grand Slam in Mexico, it was very good. The crowd was very receptive and well deserving of having it there and deserving of more, and definitely of a pay-per-view in the future, you would hope.
Yes, I hope so. I hope so. It felt really special. It did just feel like it was, yeah, like you said, deserving of an even bigger event, or at the very least, like this to be a yearly thing, that they go and visit Mexico. So, yeah, I totally agree. It was just like this episode was sort of like a side quest or like a side mission. It wasn't. I liked the way they weaved in some of the Mexican talent with the stories they were already telling. So it wasn't like a complete deviation from, the weekly programming that's building up to All In. So there's still a lot of build for those stories at the same time as like putting the Mexican talent, like you said, at the forefront, and also making it feel like different and special. So yeah, I got side quest vibes from this, and I like that about it.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing AEW's always struggled with and that I've criticised it for is its handling of Mexican talent. I don't think it's always done it justice. I think it's had great intentions. I think he's always had good intentions of pushing it, but it's not really translated. But I think especially in the past few weeks, it feels like he's finally starting to hit his stride. And
Yeah.
this special event, or special whatever the hell it's called, definitely garnered and continued that momentum. So I just hope that, like, it's difficult because All In's coming up, and like you say, these aren't the big angles of the show, and they probably won't be. The main event won't be the 4 million pesos or whatever. But I think that he's definitely in a good position, and I just hope that he continues featuring the talent the way that he has been, because in my opinion it's working really well.
Yeah, it is, and this was a great example of it working really well. But yeah, beyond obviously the event in Mexico, like in the weeks before, yeah, they built up to it really well. So I hope it wasn't just like, oh, we need to build up to our event in Mexico and then it drops off. Hopefully it continues. I'm not sure, with someone like Mystico, for example, like what his schedule looks like. Is it going to involve like trips to the US and doing Dynamite on a regular basis? I'm not sure. But I'm here for it if it is.
Yeah, so we began with Mi Nombre es Hangman. The start of it was quite endearing that he did speak in Spanish, but I did find it to be a
bless
bit
him.
GCSE speaking exam. That's
Yeah,
what it was kind of giving.
I mean, credit to him. I couldn't understand what he was saying. I don't speak Spanish. He tried his best. I like I said, I don't speak Spanish, so I don't know how fluent or not it was. And I thought it was amusing how Excalibur was trying to translate it as he was going along, but he was just going too fast for him and he just gave up eventually. But I thought it was very nice, like that essentially your top babyface is opening the show speaking in the native language. I just think that's just very, I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for is. I just think it's very nice.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. And especially because they weren't going to see him wrestle, having him feature at the start and then come out at the end was a great way to fire the crowd up. Welcome him in happy, send him home happy. He did what he needed to do. And yeah, he is the top face of the company. And with all these little side quests, if you will, that he's doing, he's building up that momentum and that legitimacy for when he does win the title. It will feel a very easy succession, I feel like, rather than his last reign maybe where he got the title and he just kind of plateaued. I feel like, yeah, I feel as though it's gonna, carry on.
Thinking about it as if
Carry on the vibes.
it's a given. We're not even like entertaining
No,
the
it is a
idea
given,
that
yeah.
Hangman might not win this match. That's not possible. That's not entered our brain. That's just not a scenario that is going to happen.
Manifestation, baby. Yeah, he was talking about a farm, I believe a family farm, and
Yeah, he said he
some
grew up on a tobacco farm, I think, and they hired Mexican workers like every summer, and he was struck by like their work ethic and things, and they essentially like, he invited them into his family home, so like thank you to everyone in Mexico for inviting AEW into their home.
yeah, which was, as I said, very endearing. And he finished on, he's not allowed to wrestle, but nobody said anything about the main event ending. He can't wrestle after that. So
Am I
was like,
forgetting
ooh.
something or like missing something? Is there a reason why he couldn't wrestle? Like kayfabe or not?
I don't know. I just thought he in the match.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't know.
Don't know. But I also liked the three man booth. It was great to see the Triforce that was Nigel, Tony, and Excalibur,
Yeah, love them. The goats.
the
Not sure
goats.
why Taz wasn't there, but it was hilarious later on in the evening, in the 4 million pesos match when Excalibur was like, "We want to send our best wishes to Taz. Nothing wrong with him. We just want to send him our best wishes." So maybe he just didn't want to go to Mexico.
Yeah. There was a reason because I remember seeing it, but I hadn't had the chance to actually open it or read
Maybe
into it. But there was definitely a legit
potentially,
reason.
yeah, potentially a travel issue because I know that Cash Wheeler and Claudio both had,
Claudia,
yeah, travel issues, so maybe it was related.
Cash Wheeler have travel issues. Uh, but yeah, it was a great opener. The 14-man tag. It was how many men can you fit in a ring? But
Yeah.
a lot of fun, a lot of fun. This. I also found uh being in Mexico that Atlantis Junior not getting over was quite interesting because we haven't heard any of that. Like watching Dynamite, that's the dynamic. We're just spoon fed that this is
A
his son and
legend.
this is a wholesome duo. Yeah, this is a legend and his son. This is a nepo baby, but the crowd was not feeling him. So that was an interesting sort of niche I thought and cool because you wouldn't pick that up if this match was in America.
Yeah, it was funny. I was a bit like, I was a bit confused at first. I was like, am I mishearing it? But no, the boos were quite um emphatic for Atlantis Junior mainly, but also Atlantis as well. Um, so like I sort of just searched up to try and find out why, and because you said he's a nepo baby. Apparently that's why. Like he's just been pushed a lot, and Mexican fans hate him because of that. Like they feel like he doesn't deserve it. So someone said, imagine if Dominic Mysterio just got the Roman Reigns treatment. Is how someone else put it. basically. So yeah, essentially a nepo baby. Funny because like you say that wouldn't come across at all on Dynamite, and we'd be none the wiser. So it was quite amusing, especially because like
That
he was
sentiment,
trying to like get the crowd behind him and being like woo, but it just wasn't working.
that sentiment really does transcend like all wrestling fandoms though, of just not enjoying things being forced
Yeah,
down your throat, just the aversion you get. And yeah, speaking of booing and cheering, I found this to be quite interesting. You know, that they're cheering who they'd normally boo and they're booing who they'd normally cheer. I feel like, yeah, maybe it could have been a bit more like anticipated that they were always going to cheer for like the CML
yeah,
guys or their luchadors, because sometimes there was some awkward interactions like with Daniel Garcia and stuff where the face would be booed. It's not like a massive deal, but when they go back next year, they can kind of anticipate that and kind of work it into the match more so it's less awkward.
yeah. Well, surely they would know that Atlantis Junior was going to get heavily booed, and I'm sorry, I can't remember if it was him or his dad who got the roll-up win on Dax. But
It was
surely,
Atlantis
yeah, right, okay.
Senior.
But nonetheless,
Senor.
they were booing spectacularly. Surely, like you'd either like anticipate that was going to happen and not have the finish work out that way, or you'd listen to the fans and be like, maybe this is wrong, and change it on the fly. But I'm not a wrestler, so I'm sure that's a very difficult thing to do. But I just felt that was just really not the right
But
ending.
maybe with the politics, because it is a collaboration with CMLL and they're so strong on like Atlantis is their super senior. Maybe
Mm,
that was part of it in that you have to make Atlantis and Atlantis Junior look strong, and
yeah,
AEW
you could
kind
be
of had
right.
to, and the wrestlers had to work it into the match.
Very
But
good
yeah, I thought
point.
everyone
Yeah,
gave a great showcase in the opening. I also think it's mad how strong and agile Bandido is, because there's absolutely no stiffness, and it's not easy to possess strength and high flying.
yeah,
Normally, when you bulk up and you gain that muscle, you lose the ability to do those moves with as much fluidity. But yeah, that's definitely been on my radar from the previous weeks as well. Just how good Bandido is. I don't know what's happened. It's like we've entered like a parallel universe, and
I've,
suddenly
you
I've
like
got appreciation. I've quantum leaped into a new reality.
yeah. When Bandido came back, I remember your reaction being something like "clap if you care," and now suddenly we're clapping.
We are standing ovation. Uh, and I also wish in this 14-man tag there was more crossovers. I appreciate the Bandido's recently come back, but there should have been more, even though it was kind of a bit lazily put together of I'm a legend killer, I'm FTR, I'm
Mhm.
Dax the Axe, I'm gonna cut you down.
Mm.
Just something like that, because that was like the main thread that was sort of running through this match, and it would have been nice to have a bit more. But I guess if they carry on with the momentum and the luchadors become more naturally ingrained into the roster, hopefully that won't be the case next year. And like you say, it's not a case of, oh fuck, we got this event going on, lads. We need to get booking the luchadors, because yeah, the, yeah, it's not great, is it?
No, I sort of fear that's what is going to happen, but we'll
Yeah,
be
realism.
we'll be cautiously optimistic rather than skeptical. But no, I agree. I agree.
But yeah, I thought this match was a lot of fun. I thought it was
Yeah,
a
it was
great,
fun and chaotic.
yeah, chaotic and a great exemplation, like example. I won't try to say a fancy word. A great example of of premier lucha wrestling. Some great AW talents. Then we had Mark Briscoe versus Okada, who was avenging Kenny after the attack the previous week. The premise of this is both are looking to send a message, so it was quite even in regard to offence, because they both had something to prove.
Hmm.
Although you knew who was gonna who was gonna prove their
Mark
message the
Briscoe
most.
losing a match. What?
We need
Unheard
a
of.
2025 AEW bingo card, and on there be like, Mark Briscoe loses a match.
Oh my God, yes. You know, it's like we're halfway through nearly 2025. We could do it for the second half.
What is that man's win-loss record? I would love to know. But yeah, it was cool, and the ending was fun. We had Briscoe biting Okada's middle finger by the molars, and Okada taking him out for a quick victory. He hit him with the belt in the midsection post-match when Don Callis got involved. Predictable and fun, and that's what we always say with Matt Briscoe. Um,
Yeah.
it was cool for the crowd to see Okada though, because as they said, all the history with Okada starting out in Mexico, but also like he is just an international star, and they were very responsive to that. They were very responsive to their guys. They were very responsive to the top of AEW, and they were responsive to international talents such as Okada and Will Ospreay. The middling talents didn't really feel like the crowd gave that much of a fuck about, and they weren't forcing it either. They weren't forcing an Adam Cole baby, they weren't feeling that, and that's fair enough. That was their authentic reactions.
They were real,
They were real.
which is always nice. Yeah, I rate that. I rate that. Um, yeah, like you said about this match and like all Mark Briscoe matches, it is predictable. That doesn't mean it's not good. Um, it's not Okada performing at his peak, at his best,
Like
clearly, but
10%.
yeah, yeah. Um, but still, I like the dynamic between them, like Okada like stopping any of the fun antics that Matt Briscoe tried to get up to. Um, I enjoyed that it was quite back and forth as well, especially towards the end. There were, a lot of reversals and like avoiding each other's finishers. Um, and yeah, and then towards the end, like I say, it was very back and forth and very like fast paced. So yeah, the Mark avoided the Rainmaker twice, but then Okada avoided the J Driller, and then he hit him with a Tombstone, and then the Rainmaker for the win. So it was very fun.
Yeah. So then we had MJF versus Mystico. This was one of, I'd say, the most anticipated matches, and especially the crowd reaction. Mystico is their damn guy. He came,
He's a local hero.
he's a local lad. We had MJF with the Uncle Sam on the One Piece selling the American hero,
Oh,
American dream gimmick.
people think he looks silly in that singlet. I think he looks cute. I think he looks cute. I'm just putting that out
Yeah.
there. I think he just looked really cute. And yeah,
Yeah, well, he
yes,
was terrorizing the whole country.
yeah, the whole America thing. Yeah, no, I'm not endorsing it. Yes, the singlet is ugly, but he looked kind
Adorable nationalism.
yes, I'm not endorsing it.
Oh no, it was great, and it was simple but effective. We've seen this match before. It works. Why fix what isn't broken? But what I loved about this match was it fired on all fronts. It These are two people who are amazing in ring, but the drama was really heightened, and they had those sort of comedic spots because of how fucking caricature this match was.
Yeah,
But when they went like the pile driver to Mystico on the top of the ramp. There was lots of loaded moments with the drama, which meant that I think this match gave everything that you would expect an MJF Mystico match to give.
100%. I felt like it had a big fight feel as well because like,
Yeah.
Mystico's entrance was crazy. Everyone was singing. Everyone was getting emotional over that. That made it feel
Well,
big. Go on.
apparently that's like a special entrance theme that he doesn't use that often.
Mm,
I don't know
yeah, I
if you'd heard
believe
about
so.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a parody or something, or a fan wrote it about. It's basically like fan fiction in a song
Oh, I
of
love that.
of a girl. I can't
I
remember the
seen the
narrative,
music
bro.
video. I seen the clip of the music video, and he's in the music video, and it's like he falls in love with the girl who's singing.
Yeah, yeah, and she's like his salvation or something like that. So
Love that.
that's
But
cool.
it's like, Danielson using Final Countdown. It comes out on special occasions, and when he does, it's special. So I love that. That was really nice. And yeah, they were so engaged throughout. And the thing about this was it was such a classic wrestling match. It How else can you describe it? It's like this formula that works so well. Foreign person being MJF in this situation in Mexico, being a complete asshole to the hero, the 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 native hero who everyone loves and sees themselves in. MJF like spitting, poking the eyes, like cheating, um, trying to retreat from the match, but then like you mentioned the pile driver, that didn't go well. But this, and it's such a great point that these are two fantastic wrestlers, but that formula of heel face dynamic that has been the core of wrestling since the dawn of history really fucking works. Um, so you don't need to overcomplicate it. It's so simple. Um, yeah, it just reminds me of. Oh, it's gonna sound really stupid actually, but it just reminds me of like commentating on wrestling in Markham, for example, where it's a family audience and it's very black and white, good guy versus bad guy, and it's not reinventing the wheel, but it's fantastic and everyone's having a great time.
You know what I say?
Um,
Formula, more Mueller, more Mueller. That's why you need to follow the formula. But what pad interest aside, yeah, I would say this was a very timeless match, very 80s,
yeah,
and timeless
timeless.
in the sense
Perfect.
of, yes, you can go to Morecambe Seafront, get yourself a lovely pizza, sit down, enjoy the vibes, and watch a match like this, but it's also reminiscent of territories wrestling, and that's kind of where this comes from, and that's why it's so timeless of going into the opposing territory, and that's what they're fucking doing here. And yeah, foreign bad.
Oh, I'm bad.
But it,
Don't
it
like you.
works.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
works. So
And
yeah,
I mean, the ending is debatable, I
interesting.
suppose.
Very interesting. Did you like
Mhm.
it?
Um, well, so yeah, we had the classic spot where the referee was distracted by MVP while MJF was tapping out. That always gets the crowd going. So then MJF did a low blow behind the referee's back as well, and you thought, oh well, that's probably going to be it. But then Mystico kicked out, so that was like a big oh my god moment. And at that point, I thought, I've been thinking this whole time, Mystico can't lose this match. That'd be daft. So at this point, I was thinking, oh, he's going to win. But then MJF just got really frustrated and low blowed him right in front of the referee, and it was a disqualification. And well, like I've just said, I don't think that Mystico could have lost this match. But then if you think about it, could MJF lose it either? Well, that would, considering the Hurt Syndicate and his current story arc, that would have also been not ideal because it has the potential of making him look quite weak when we're trying to make him look strong and like he fits in this faction. Um, I just feel like maybe they could have gone about it a different way. I don't know. It just felt very anticlimactic that the fact that it was a low blow DQ right in front of the ref. Um, I don't know if it could have had something more to do with the Hurt Syndicate getting involved and like helping MJF win that way, perhaps. I'm not sure. What do you think?
Yeah, it was such a weak DQ on it because
Yeah,
low blow, it's not impactful. If he'd have got on the ring or there was some blood or he was busted open and the bell was ringing, it would have. Yeah, it's still a fucky ending, but it would have been to the level of tension that the match was and the level of drama that they were bringing for it to just be. But then the drama came from after that because uh, the beatdown with the Hurt Syndicate and the unmasking and then wearing it, which was truly shocking because you already had the shock of the ref throwing the match out, which I say big match feel. It's not what anyone wants to see, especially not those who are there to see their hero, their national hero, not Atlantis, Mystico, beat MJF. But yeah, I mean, I was not expecting the unmasking at all.
No, me neither.
But it wasn't in a way of like, holy shit, that's crazy. It was in a way of like sucking the air out of the room, similarly to the match ending of like, wow,
Okay,
okay.
we went there.
And I still, yeah, we went there, and I still don't fully know how I feel. I feel like I need to process it. I still, yeah, I'm not sure. I just don't know how I feel about it, really. I don't
think,
hate it, but I don't love it.
yeah, I'm kind of the same because on one hand, I'm thinking that solidifies MJF hmm, as a heel, as a really solid heel and a really disrespectful heel. But I'm not sure if we needed to do that to establish that, actually. I feel like maybe it was just a step a little bit too far. I don't know if it had as much impact for the character of MJF that was if it was worth it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's so high stakes unmasking someone, and especially unmasking Mystico, especially when he'd already done it a few weeks ago with Dorada, you know, and that was really shocking. It was like we already had that moment. Unless this is his new gimmick where he's just pulling masks off, I don't see why we needed to repeat it, and I don't see why he'd need to get that level of heat when it's not like as though they're going to be back in Mexico for another year, you'd assume.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I guess in the
exactly.
future you could say, oh, well, there's always a rematch on the cards, which, like, yeah, I suppose, but also it would have been cool. I'm just hypothesizing now, but also it's not like so they had to do that because Mystico could go against anyone on the roster, any top star, and it would be a draw. So it was just a weird choice, really, and it
Yeah.
just didn't fully land where they wanted it to land. We also had Jet Speed, Bandito, Templario, Hologram coming back and procuring another mask. So it kind of ended on a positive spin, but it was just weird, and the crowd felt it was a bit weird, but not weird enough that they hated it so much that they were thunderously booing it in an X-Pac heat way, but they also were loving it. And again, as you say, okay, fair enough if you want to pull a risk like that, but at least have it positively push MJF forward and just did nothing. It's not worth it.
Yeah. I've heard that apparently one of the fans followed MJF to the hotel and
Yes,
started on him.
yes. And
So
Max loves that shit, so
yeah, which is funny. So maybe, it did get the heat that it was intended to, but yeah, so do we think that MJF is gonna feud with Mystico going forward? Like, is this gonna prolong or what? Because does he have any other opponents lined up? Because
I
I'm
guess
thinking you can't
so.
end it on that.
But I just feel like it's gonna come back next year and it's gonna be sort of his legacy as he's hated in Mexico. And yeah, next time he returns to the airport, fans are gonna be clamoring for him, which I guess is kind of cool. But what if he's face next year? You know, I can't see him and Mystico having a program because
You don't.
I feel as though they're gonna want to circle him back into the world title scene.
Yeah, that
That's
is
where he's
true.
continuously spoken about, so it wouldn't
Very
really
true.
make much sense.
Very true. But what was interesting about this was then um Speedball, Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight coming down to sort of make the save and they took down the Hurt Syndicate, so they seems pretty clear to me they're going to be the next contenders for the tag championships, which is
Yeah, and
fun.
yeah, and especially if they're turning MJF heel and they're trying to present the Hurt Syndicate heel, you'd think that's because yeah, Jet Speed is very much the babyface team, so
Mm.
maybe they would just wanted it to be more clearer who's face, who's heel.
I think that'll work. I think that if the Hurt Syndicate can let them two get their shit in and like they can I'm not saying that they don't do that with other people, but I feel like a lot of their feuds have been a little bit on the side of being a squash-ish. So if we can give Speedball and Kevin like a bit of a showing in the match and like let them do their style
But
before
do you
getting
believe that? Do you actually believe that that will happen? Because I
well,
don't. I think it's gonna be a
potentially,
private party sitch,
but I don't know though because
outrun a sitch.
they were standing tall at the end of this segment, like they took them down. So mm,
They were standing on business. It
I feel
wasn't
like that's a
clocking
step.
to the Hurt Syndicate.
I feel like that's a
They
step
were
in the right
standing on
direction.
business. Yeah, but I still don't think, it's not believable. That's the issue with the Hurt Syndicate
Mm.
is they're that alpha that nothing's really believable to me.
Well, suspend your disbelief. You're a
They're the
wrestling
opposite of
fan.
Matt Briscoe. But yeah, then we had the 4 million pesos match with Ricochet, Leo Rush, Dorada. Who was the other person?
Hologram.
Hologram, our favorite. Um, this match was just as to be expected. Like what it was on paper was what it was.
I believe
Watching it,
they literally branded the match a high flying 4 million pesos match, which it obviously was. It lived up to that name very literally.
yeah, and it was nice to see some more lucha on lucha action because I think, especially when they've kind of gone back down to this rebuilding stage, I think that's to me when it's the most enjoyable. Um, but yeah, it was just enjoyable. It was just a match, but it was a a good match.
Yeah.
I don't really know what else to say really. We had the portal bomb on um I can't read my handwriting there. Oh yeah, Rush, Leo Rush, um, for the win. So hologram won because why would he not? I don't know, guys. I'm still not feeling hologram. He's
Generic.
at the bottom of the rung. Yeah, I
Mm.
need a tier list, but it's just the luchadors. Beast Mortos. Yeah,
Oh.
Mercedes Moné, she knows what's up. Get that in S tier. Bandido, do you know what? You can go in B tier. You're a strong lad, and I respect you because you hate Chris Jericho. Um, Hologram, no, just
He's in
no.
your what was our bottom tier? Um X-Pac heat. Sammy Guevara heat.
Yeah,
Is it that bad?
yeah.
Jeez.
I just didn't have what it takes, babes.
I don't have strong feelings either way about Hologram, to be honest. I think he's all right, but I don't love him. Um, I feel like this match was I sort of liked the way that they did the heel versus face dynamic, like getting Leo Rush and Ricochet to work together. So do we think that Ricochet is going to recruit Leo Rush into his little team that he's trying to
Yeah, that's
form?
been theorized, hasn't it? So that'd be
Makes sense.
a nice way into doing that.
But then they did disagree in this match, which led ultimately to them losing. Um, so maybe not, but it's something. It's a little something for us to nibble on about Leo Rush, the most exciting thing he's ever
Crumb that you
done.
can lick your finger, put it on the plate, and put it back in your mouth.
Yeah.
That's the level of nibble.
Yeah, it's not we're not talking like a forkful. Um, but yeah, I quite like this. And with a lot of the matches on the show, it was you could tell that they were going all out and there was a lot of quite big dangerous spots. In particular like the dives to the outside that they did.
Oh
Dorada
my
and
God,
Hologram.
yeah.
That was it was like they were like bouncing off the ropes as if they were gonna hit each other, but then they just dove outside instead, and it was like okay, I think it was Dorado who sort of looked like he landed on his head, but
Yeah, lots of adrenaline going round, hometown
definitely,
buzz and
definitely.
all that. Then we had the match that was another crazy outcome, one that I did not expect for the CML World Women's Championship. Zouk,
Zeus's.
Zuxi. I still can't say it. I'm sorry. Against Mercedes Moné. But speaking of going through the ropes, my fucking god, did that woman put the tope with emphasis on the Suicina to Monet? Jesus Christ. This woman wrestles like a wrecking ball, and I mean that in with the highest of compliments. My God, was it stiff? My
Yes,
God.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, speaking of dives where people landed on the head, I feel like it was in the first couple of minutes or so when Zeus's landed right on her head, um, on this one. And the power slam that she did like through the ropes on the apron, that was brutal.
Absolutely crazy. Uh, and that tenacity that she was wrestling with just furthered her as a lock-in for me. I'm like, oh, well, obviously she will continue her reign. Um, but obviously that was not the case. They were fumbling about on the top rope, and Mercedes was able to counter uh, what she was setting up. I'm not sure. I believe originally it was like a Spanish fly was being set up, and then I don't know what the other attempt was, whether it was going to be another power slam. But yeah, Mercedes was able to counter with the momentum of the fall, pick up the victory.
It
So it
was
was very shocking.
yeah, it was very impressive. Like it was sort of like a moonsault type thing that she reversed it into, which was yes impressive, like a big move. But I didn't expect it to end the match, so it felt very sudden,
But it was
and
good.
it was
I thought it was
good.
good. Unlike the other stuff where I think there was just a lot of weirdness with the endings in Atlantis
Mm.
getting the roll up and it took the air out of the room a bit and the whole Mystico MJF fiasco. This was it caught you by surprise, but I
In a
think
good
in a
way.
good way in
Mm.
comparison.
Oh yeah, certainly in comparison, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like maybe they could have given them a little bit longer for this match, if I'm gonna be picky. Just to let it breathe a little bit more than what it did. Um, but yeah, even Mercedes herself looked shocked that she won, and I liked her reaction to it because although she is this cocky like belt collector, she still has that uh gratitude and also sort of like shock that she's actually done it. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I'd seen a spoiler for this, so I can't sort of tell you what my organic reaction was to find like to watching the match and seeing her win. But I can't say I was all that surprised really because like she's got a lot of belts now,
I
and
thought we were dropping him. I
yeah, we
thought
did say this, didn't we?
I thought that was going to be the thing was as she loses her belts and the TBS is all that she's got, it's going to make her more feral, more aggressive. But, the other way works too. The more she's collecting, the more cocky she's getting, the more arrogant she's getting. It still works either way.
Mm.
And, we saw the dynamic play out of Tony Storm, had like a film noir sort of
Oh, I loved
video
this.
package and then met her in the ring. Tried for the Storm Zero on the ramp, but yeah, we didn't get to actually see that come to fruition. But again, great to get Tony on the show, get her in front of the crowd, even if they can't see her wrestle. Just being able to see her is is great. More bang for their pesos, should I say? But yeah, it
Be a
was a
cultural
cool
queen.
a cool ending.
Um, yeah, I really liked how this played out. So I thought the video was hilarious, and then like hilarious in a Tony Storm sort of way. I'm sure you all know what I mean. Um, but then like it was Mina Shirakawa making like the distraction on the stage as well, which was surprising. So like
Yeah.
Mercedes was like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And then Tony came up behind her, and To be fair, I did think this was a little bit awkward because obviously Mercedes could tell she was there, so why wouldn't she just run off? There was an awkward few seconds where Tony was like sniffing her hair and getting ready to German suplex her, which was so cool because it's such an awesome visual because all the belts that she had on, like she's got about 7 belts, they all went flying everywhere all over the ring. I thought that was a brilliant visual. But I love how they're slowly building the tensions between these two. It's not all out brawling from the start. It's been a slow burner, but I think you can feel the tension between them. And even I would have loved what we said in that like she slowly loses all of her belts and then it's the only one she's got left, so it's like she's really desperate to keep hold of it. But I think this works equally as well, because I guess it's like the materialistic Monet with all of her gold versus the opposite in Tony Storm. And I think that her losing them will probably be better for being more long term and happening slower, like further down the line. So overall, this was a highlight of the show for me.
Yeah, and it leaves space for if they want to kind of do a long-term sort of face turn, maybe actually build some
Mm,
sympathy for her. Yeah, it still works either way for sure. And I like how they're both sort of targeting each other right where it hurts. So with Tony this week, she was sniffing Mercedes again after Mercedes had gone up to her and sniffed her and then attacked her, like kind of playing her own mind games. And then Tony coming out last night, right when she's won a belt, which obviously for Mercedes is like her big
mm,
sort of, that's like when her head, like you kind of see that vulnerability where she was kind of a little bit surprised that she won. So they're both meeting each other, they're both fucking with each other's heads in like the best way possible and the most effective
yeah,
way possible. And yeah, it's not just beat downs for the sake of it, or it's a bit more cerebral than that, which makes
yeah,
it
I
fun.
love that. I love that. It's more, it's less physical, more psychological. Which with when Tony Storm's involved, I don't think every wrestler could do that. But Tony Storm has a real knack of achieving that and making you invest in it even without like, even though obviously it did get physical, but more on a you thinking about it level rather than just watching them throw fists.
Yeah, so then we went on to the main event, which was absolute insanity. We've got a 10 man, which, you're feeling a bit fatigued from the 14 man, but it was a great way for the crowd to see the largest scope of talent within the time frame that they had. And we
Mm,
had the Ops, Swerve, Osprey versus Mox, Beast Mortos replacing Claudio, the Bucks,
Rip.
and Yuta. And also, this match enabled some really fun dynamics between the Death Riders and the Faces that normally we don't get to see in the constraints of a match. Normally, it's like a post match beatdown and everyone runs out and it's chaos. So, it was kind of cool to sort of have it be a little bit less lawless, and you got those great moments of Joe and Mox meeting and Swerve and Mox meeting, and in the books and Swerve, it just had a lot of fun threads within it, and they followed it well, I thought.
Yeah, and the Bucks and Osprey too.
Yeah.
That was really fun. That was really fun. And speaking of Osprey, like the chants for Osprey were so loud that it got to the point where like you couldn't hear the commentary team. He was incredibly over. And also loved how much I mean it was obviously a clear distinction between heel and face, but the disdain for Moxley in particular was really evident.
Yeah. Yeah, and also Osprey and Swerve's dynamic, and that led into the charged
Oh
ending with
yeah.
them working in tandem, but Matt Jackson uh disrupting their sort of flow that they had going on. Marina Shafir distracting the ref, and the roll up on Swerve, because you don't know what the fallout from that's going to be, because it felt like Osprey had kind of gotten through to him and that they
Yeah.
were both playing on the same side. So I don't know. Again, leaning to my Swerve heel theory, whether that's going to jade him some more. But that was
Mm,
a great ending to a great match.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's kind of like they nearly took Moxley out, like the two of them working together. It's kind of like Ospreay's point being proven, like, look, teamwork works.
It's the
We can
dream work.
exactly.
There's no
But
I in team.
but then Swerve got fucked over because of it, like you said. So he's like, well, fuck your team. Didn't make my dream work. So yeah, that's a really a fun dynamic. And like Marina getting involved to distract the referee. Um, I can sense that a lot of people would, well, some people, not a lot, some people may criticize this show for the some of the foggy finishes that we had, but honestly, I didn't mind it. It didn't take away from my enjoyment of it. I felt like it, in context, it 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 worked.
Yeah, it furthered everything, and it was worth it, and it's finding that balancing act of trying to make people not look weak when you're having basically the same matchup every
Yeah.
week with the Death Riders against some form of the face is a bit difficult. But the ending was really cool post match because Hangman coming out, facing Mox, who was sat in the ring like a total badass. He looked like a final boss. We had a book shot on a book instead of a Mox, which
Mm.
was, even though Hangman has been very open about the fact he does not want to be friends with the Bucks, it was still like a oh shit moment. Mox wanting a cheap shot, but the faces regrouping, and I thought it was very interesting that they were shielding Swerve from Mox, and Hangman was at the front of the fray. And again, because it's that miscommunication trope of, is Swerve going to take it that way though? Or is he going to think like, you were trying to steal the spotlight from me, and Osprey like, no, no, no. And yeah, but it was a crazy ending, because who would have thought they would take the Bucks out and in the process defend Swerve?
And commentary pointed that
Very
out
crazy.
too. I can't remember who it
Yeah.
was on commentary. You said, um, "Oh, I never thought I'd see the day where Hangman Adam Page was coming out to protect Swerve." So clearly, we're planting some seeds there very deliberately. How exciting!
Yeah, and he did say to stay out of Swerve's business, so
Yeah,
he
it's
stuck
so
to his
telling,
words.
isn't it?
Yeah. And yeah, that was it really. Hangman he marched up after the Bucks.
We had a stare down, and it left you with lots of questions, lots of fallout for the following week.
Collisions returning on Saturday
As well, no more 4-hour shows, thank
Yeah.
God. Yeah, that was Grand Slam Mexico.
Yeah.
Mexico.
Overall, I had fun watching it. Like it seemed to fly by really quickly. Everything was quite light and
Curious.
breezy and easy to watch. And some of my favorite stories continued at the same time as getting like little flavors of other things. So it was nice for a little bit of a change, but it wasn't jarring, feeling like it stuck out like a sore thumb. So overall, I enjoyed it. So we'll need to give it a rating. What are you thinking?
I want to know what you're thinking first.
Oh,
Because I know what I'm thinking, but I want to know what you're thinking.
oh gosh, right, okay. I mean, we spoke very highly of it. There was some interesting parts. For example, MJF unmasking Mystical that perhaps wasn't the best. I'm thinking like 8.
See, I'm thinking a 9
Okay.
because there was teething issues, don't get me wrong, as there always is doing these things for the first time. But I think, what did it set out to achieve? As I said at the start, it set out to achieve the exhibition of talent, the luchador talent, giving the Mexican audience a chance to see that. And as you say, first in a long time, foreign wrestling promotion coming to Arena Mexico, putting on this show. I think it's a huge achievement, and I think it's the start of, even though the relationship has been quite fruitful, an even more fruitful relationship. And from this, more trust will be built up between CML and AEW, and hopefully we'll get less of these weird finishes because they'll kind of trust each other and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, be less be less reluctant to protect their guys. But yeah, I think you have to give it a 9 for it being the inaugural one. The atmosphere, the crowd, the vibes. I think it has some leverage to it.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you sold me on the idea of a 9. I agree with you. I can't think of any reason really that I could justify saying, oh no, we need to dock a point for this reason or that reason. Yes, there was bits and pieces that I wasn't a fan of, but I didn't hate anything of it, and I didn't, felt positively. And like you said, it set out to achieve a certain list of things, and I think we've ticked them off like you explained. So yeah, approved a 9. Yeah, I'll approve that one. I'll let that one go.
Approved.
Thanks, so
Lucy.
I've got it, the little spreadsheet that we've got. Grand Slam Australia also got a 9.
Did it actually?
Yeah.
Damn, that's some interesting data.
Isn't it? I have to make a graph out of this. But yeah, I think, clearly when the stakes are high and, we've built up the anticipation, the data seems to suggest that AEW match up to that. So that's obviously great. Great for, fans who pay a lot of money and get one show per year, perhaps. It's great that you set the expectation that that'll be worth it and that'll be a good show, even if it is not a pay-per-view. It's 2.5 hours. It's not a huge event like we're lucky enough to have in England, like, Forbidden Door, but it's still special and good and worth going to.
And also, like, it's great because giving it a 9, there's always room for it to get better, which I do think.
Oh yeah, totally.
They will be. I mean, even from the first All In, we should probably give 10 out of 10 because we're biased and we were there. Compared to the second, it was the first one had the novelty. The second one had better substance, better matches, better build. These things just get better with time. But as far as setting a precedent goes, can't really complain too much. And the complaints that you do have, you take it off and you don't call it a 9.5 out of 10. Oh my god, it was the best show ever. But a 9 is very comfortable. So, but I'd be interested to hear if anyone was there, like what their direct thoughts were, because we heard from some people from Australia when we put out the Australian review, and it's really lovely to hear what people thought being there live. The reactions.
It's always so
and
different.
Stuff.
It's always so different from, obviously it is, but it's like, what's the general reception like? That atmosphere, what it always affects your enjoyment of something. So yeah, definitely, if you were there, please let us know. I want to know what it was like. And if you're not already, please do subscribe or follow, leave a rating or a like, whatever you want, whatever platform you're on. Just do all the positive stuff, please, because we really appreciate it and it helps us to grow and reach more people. If you want to share with your friends, if you've got friends who might like it, do please do that. We appreciate all the support.
I must bid you adieu, goodbye, you rock, and good night, bad.
I wish you died in the womb!